everybody, and welcome back to another weekly reading vlog. I hope you guys are all doing very well. I'm in a different place than I usually start my reading vlogs, and that is because I'm starting this on Sunday night. I just got back from a trip to California, and so I'm a little bit jet lagged, and so I'm just like staying up late and filming some things, and I thought it would be a great time to start this week's vlog. Please excuse this like disaster mess from last week. I literally hit stop record on last week's vlog and then start again, so we still have the remnants of that. But I do want to chat about the two books that I'm hoping to get to this week. I don't have much of a theme for this week's reading vlog. It's just books that I wanted to pick up this summer that I haven't gotten to yet. Neither of them are particularly new releases. Both of them are authors that I've read from before and liked, but not loved. So maybe that's a theme. First book that I'm planning to pick up is China Rich Girlfriend by Kevin Kwan. This is the second book in the Crazy Rich Asians series. I read Crazy Rich Asians, I don't remember how long ago. I want to say 3 or 4 years ago. And then last summer I read Lies and Weddings by Kevin Kwan and really, really loved it. So I wanted to kind of dive back into some of his backlists that I never got to. This is a series about, I don't want to like spoil the first book, but basically from what I remember, it's about a couple and she is like very middle class and she marries this extremely wealthy Asian man. So this is kind of the continuation of their story. I think these are really fun summer books. I think Kevin Kwan is a great summer author because they're very quick, they're very plotty, romancy themes, the covers, like just look at that. It's very summery. So probably we'll start with this week. Then I also wanted to pick up Ghosts by Dolly Alderton. I previously read, I think I just made up that I've read a Dolly Alderton. This is actually my first book of her. I'm confusing her with Curtis something. I'll put a cover of the book that I was confusing her with. But I think this is actually a new to me author. And this is about a fairly successful woman who downloads a dating app. She meets a great guy. He seems awesome. They have a great date, but then he totally ghosts her. And she's trying to like figure out what to do about that. I think it is a commentary about modern relationships and modern dating. And I thought that this also seemed like a fun little summary read. So these are the reading plans for the week. Otherwise, I go back to my week of service, inpatient service. So that's like my 7 days in a row, pretty busy week. I go back to that on Tuesday. So I have tomorrow off, just doing life things, going to therapy, like doing all the things that I need to do and getting the house in order, doing some things for the wedding before I kind of go back to work on Monday or on Tuesday. So anyways, welcome to this week's reading vlog. All right, happy Wednesday. What a day it's been. I got home at like 8 p.m., so that was fun. But I did eat some lovely pasta pesto. The pesto was from our garden, which whenever I make something from the garden is always a plus. And I did get to listen actually to a little bit of my audiobook on the way to and from work. So I do have some of this to update you on. However, I also have 2 more book boxes. So I'm going to wrap those first. Then we'll talk about reading. And then I will talk to you very briefly about the Booker Prize, the Booker Dozen, or the Booker Prize long list, which recently came out. Actually, I think it came out yesterday, the day that I'm filming this. So lots to get to. Let's start with book packages. Oh my gosh, look what it is. Okay, so I picked up Nevermore by Jessica Townsend. This is a middle grade magical book, and this is a series. Like sometimes when I read a bunch of literary fictions in a row or dark mystery thrillers, I just want something readable but charming, and this really seemed like that. I'm also obsessed with this cover. I think it is absolutely stunning. I think the 4th book to this series just came out, so I'm going to have to pick this one up very soon. Okay, there was a lot more in here than I thought there was going to be. We also have One in Rome by Sarah Adams. I thought this looked like a very fun, fluffy romance, also part of a series. Um, it says opposites certainly attract for a standard pop star and a small town baker in this charming slice of romance for Sarah Adams, author of Cheat Sheet. You know what? I think I'm going to read this when British Bake Off comes out, which is usually in September. I think like a baking romance is going to be right up my alley at that point. And Tyler and I are probably going to Italy for our honeymoon, so maybe this will get me even more excited for that trip. And finally, I have The Five, The Untold Lives of the Woman Killed by Jack the Ripper. And what really drove me to want to read this is I think it's really a book about the women, not about him. And I don't think he's really mentioned other than on the cover of this book. I've heard really, really good things about this. So certainly do want to pick that up. And this seems like a spooky season book. All right. So I kind of love this haul. Very much not in my normal reading taste, but very much books that I am looking forward to and just called my name as soon as I was on the website. Apologize, my phone keeps going off. So did want to give you a brief little update about China Rich Girlfriend, which I am currently about a third of the way through. I'm on page 140. I'm going to be honest with you. I almost DNF'd this about 50 pages into it. But we just got to a big plot reveal that I think is going to make me more interested. So the beginning of this book was extremely info dumpy, character dumpy. Clarence has invited himself in. I did not know who these people were. It had been so long since I read the first book in the series, and it was just character after character after character. They all ran together. I just didn't care. But they're all starting to come together. And this is quite readable. Like I can sit down and binge quite a bit of this. It is kind of summary, fun, turn your brain off. So I think I'm going to persist with it, even if it's not like 5-star read material as of right now. However, it has progressively been getting better and better. So maybe it will be the book that I started out wanting to DNF and end up giving a really high rating. I don't know. So far, I can't really tell you a lot about this because it's the second book in a series. But we are following a lot of very wealthy Asian families and a couple involving a very middle class girl who marries into one of the rich families. So it's kind of that story. But yeah, it is warming up. Then really quickly, I did want to chat with you about the Booker Prize long list because the Booker Prize is not a prize that I read every year. I'm pretty good about reading the National Book Award shortlist every year. And sometimes I read the Women's Prize, although this year I didn't. But it is a prize that I always follow, and I'm always kind of anxiously anticipating what is going to be on the list. So I have actually already read 2 of them, which I think is more than I've ever read when the list comes out. So, however, the 2 that I read are books that I really didn't like and some of my least favorite books of the year. So maybe that means I need to just not touch this prize, not go there, not do anything related to it. So I've read Universality by Natasha Brown. I also read Audition by Katie Kitamura. Both books are very experimental and books that I didn't really feel like I understood the point of. I did not feel that I was smart enough to understand them or had enough concreteness for me to grip onto. I think maybe as a reader, there are certain people that will gravitate towards those books. In my mind, they're very similar, and I just didn't. And on the shortlist, there are a few that kind of jumped out at me as ones that I might want to pick up shortly. The main one being Flashlight by Susan Choi, because it was also on the Modern Mrs. Darcy summer reading guide. So I could read that one with the Kevin Wilson that I didn't get to the last time. I'll pop it up on the screen. I am forgetting the title. I think it was called Run for the Hills, From the Hills. So maybe I might pair those together for episode 2 of that reading challenge. And then The Land in Winter was described as short, similar to Claire Keegan by some people. And we all know how I feel about Claire Keegan. So there are a few that I could be interested. But overall, I was a little wary of the shortlist just by the 2 that I have read that made it were books that I did not like. So let me know if you follow the Booker Prize, what you think. If there are any on there that you think that I really should read, that I might enjoy. All right, I'm going to put away all these books that I probably shouldn't have ordered and read a bit more of my book, and then I'm going to head to bed. So happy Saturday. Got a Spindrift as per usual. This is the Island Punch, my current favorite flavor. Today was a busy day at work, but not too crazy. I have been fully obsessed with the new Renee Rapp album. I literally have been listening to it on the way to work, back from work, in between seeing patients. Like, it's so good. I think it would be good for people who like Sabrina Carpenter, just pop, like feel good pop music. It has so many great one-liners, and I'm obsessed. Ty is on his bachelor weekend, so he is not here right now. So it's just me and the cats living it up for a couple of days. But you guys are here for books, so let's chat about one book that I finished and the beginning of another book that I've started. So I ended up giving China Rich Girlfriend 3 stars. I think the quality of writing was super solid in this book. I have a couple of issues with it. The first being it was so long since I've read the first book, Crazy Rich Asians, that I seriously did not remember many of the characters other than the main couple. And so a lot of this book isn't, taking place with the main couple. It's people surrounding them, a few like side characters that were mentioned in the first book. And I didn't sink into their stories quite as much as I was hoping I would. Having said that, though, I think there are some really interesting characters and stories in here. I just think the timing of when I read this didn't quite work. And my other thing was the beginning of the book felt very long-winded, and you didn't quite get to the meat of the story and what was happening until several pages into it. And I think that the plotting could have been a little bit better. Will I read the last book in the Crazy Rich Asians series? I don't think so. I think I'm a little burnt out. Will I read the next Kevin Kwan not in this series? Yes, I really enjoy his writing style, but I think I'm just like I'd have to restart the whole series, I think, to like really, really enjoy and be invested in reading a whole another installment in this, and I just don't care enough to do it. So 3 stars. I just started Ghost by Dolly Alderton. I'm only on like chapter 2, but so far this is super funny and relatable. So the beginning of the book is just kind of talking about this woman in her 30s, her friend group, her life. And so many parts to this just feel like they have a finger on the pulse of modern society, modern dating, modern norms. And it's just hilarious. One thing that is a little bit quirky about this is that every sentence is long and everything is over-described, which I like. I do enjoy that writing style. I don't know if it's going to grind on me for the whole book, but so far I'm just finding this wildly funny, wildly relatable, very witty, and I'm really enjoying it. So don't have too much else to say about this, although I am excited to dive into it a bit more, and I'm going to listen to the audiobook of this and read it. So hopefully I'm able to finish it tomorrow before the end of this vlog. So anyways, that is the update. I'm going to finish my little spindrift here and call it a night. All right, it is Monday, and I am popping in to wrap up this vlog. Real quick, little like housekeeping thing before I get into my wrap up. I am having some conflicted opinions about how I want to do these weekly reading vlogs. The biggest thing is I often don't finish books on Sunday. I often am like halfway through a book or almost have a few more pages left to finish, and I can't finish and upload it in time. And so I end up just like pushing the vlog. So it gets uploaded on Monday instead of Sunday, and then the next week's is shorter, and then like it all gets delayed. And I think I'm going to start cutting books in half if I don't finish them by the time the vlog is done, meaning I'll tell you what I thought of the part that I've read, and then it will be concluded in next week's vlog, because it's either that or I keep like uploading on different early days of the week, which is not my favorite. So let me know if you have any strong opinions about that. But as of right now, I think that's probably what will work best for my uploading schedule. So this week I ended up finishing 2 books, which was pretty solid for a busy work week. I also started using this very new bookmark, which I love. It has a little whale on it. It's extremely cute, and a little nice little tassel too. So first book, as I told you guys, China Rich Girlfriend, I ended up giving 3 stars. I don't think I'm going to continue on with the series. It was fine, but I like wasn't that invested at the end, to be honest. And then I finished Ghosts, and I gave this 4 stars. I really enjoyed this. So as I told you guys, it is about a woman in her 30s who gets ghosted by a guy that she really has a connection with, that she meets on an online dating app. But I think the theme of ghosts is brought up in a lot of really interesting and unique and thoughtful ways in here. One thing is her father is struggling with dementia, and so he isn't able to like remember a lot of the things that he used to be able to remember. And so she's reckoning with the person he is being somebody that he didn't used to be, or very different from the father that she grew up with. And so there's kind of like a ghostly element to that, which is interesting. And then also, a lot of people in her life are going through big changes, becoming parents or going into relationships or whatever it might be. And I think the 30s are a big decade of change for a lot of people. And so I think like addressing them in the theme of ghosts, obviously through the main one being this guy ghosting her, but all these other kind of unique, changing, former self, current self type of vibes really did a great job. This reminded me in some ways of Sorrow and Bliss. Sorrow and Bliss is one of my favorite books of all time, so it wasn't quite on that level, but very solid. Similar humor, similar style, kind of modern contemporary romancy type of book. Not romance, but like modern contemporary love story, or commentary about modern relationships, I would say. But I certainly will pick up another Dolly Alderton. I really enjoyed this. And again, 4 stars. Solid book. I do think I might do a dedicated book review of this too, because I think it has a lot of interesting themes, a lot of interesting questions, and I really like how the idea of ghosts was brought up in here in a lot of different ways. So, solid. So overall, I had a really great reading week. Thank you so much for joining me on this adventure. If you made it to the end of this vlog, leave me an airplane. I don't know if this is going to want to focus, as is on the back of this book. I think there might only be one airplane emoji, but leave me an airplane emoji. And with that, I will see you guys all very soon with another video. Bye.